Right. So the title of my presentation, Modernise or Die, I don't know if it sounds familiar to anyone, but it comes from something called the Farmer Review of Construction from 2016. And I took that sort of to take a general theme about how various things in housing need to modernise. People have, reliably I'm told, people have been living in homes for quite a long time. But quite a lot of what we do hasn't changed significantly over the years. Picture here, hopefully, it's not on my screen, or that screen. I'll try again. Is that it? There we go. Thank you. Picture here is of a construction site in 1963. It's in Cornwall. Anyone want to guess where it is? No? Oh, I'm sure someone would be able to tell me this. No, sorry. Stithians Reservoir. No points. Under construction. So bear that in mind. That's from 1963. The next picture is from 1963 as well, but from an office space. Or two separate pictures from an office space. And I think when you look at the two, it would be my suspicion that taking someone from that construction site in 1963 and putting them to work on a construction site now would be a much quicker process than taking someone from one of those offices and putting them to work in an office space now. I'm particularly pleased in that picture there. Do you like the sort of really timely performance information that's framed on the walls and pictures? That obviously only the men are clever enough to look at. Oops, is that me? Probably is. So I think Farmer's point was that not much had changed in housing, not since bricks were a modern method of construction whenever they were developed. So I was going to talk about four things in housing that need to change. One is about building more homes. One is about the quality of the homes that we have and that we build. One is about the services we provide. And then the fourth one is about how we look after maintenance in our homes. So the first of those is about building more homes. There's pretty widespread agreement that we need to build more homes. The chart there shows you National Housing Federation crisis estimate of the number of homes, which is just shy of 350,000 a year. The government's target of 300,000 a year. There is some debate as to exactly how many homes we need to build. It tends to get a bit circular with discussions around household creation, with some people saying that because the number of homes we build has kept up with the rate of household creation, that shows we're building enough. Others countering by saying that households can really be created at the rate that homes are there for people to move into. So it gets a little bit circular. There's also a debate as to whether building more homes make homes more affordable. I think what's undoubtedly true is that building more affordable homes makes homes more affordable. So that's what we're going to keep being focused on. What's a challenge, though, is at the minute we're building, as a country, I guess, 200,000 homes a year, there or thereabouts. Government wants to get that to 300,000, while at the same time, more people are leaving the construction sector than are joining. And it's not particularly close if you look at that chart. This is from the Farmer Review. So there's a decline in the number of people working in the sector. The next chart shows that pretty starkly. The red line is the target for the number of people that are needed in the construction sector to deliver the number of homes that we need. And the yellow bars are the number of people that currently work in the sector or forecast to work in the sector. So you can see from that that there's a bit of a problem. Another problem, and this is where we get into perhaps the modernisation side, is productivity in the construction sector. So this chart, starting from a base of 100 in 1994, shows how productivity has changed in a number of areas of the economy, so taking manufacturing, service industry and construction. And you'll see that construction has basically not moved. It's wobbled up and down a bit, but it's basically not got any more productive in the last, I can't do the maths in my head, 25 years. Whereas manufacturing in particular has improved quite significantly. It's not entirely surprising when you look at the next chart, which again from the Farmer Review looks at expenditure on research and development by sector. And you can probably just about see construction down at the bottom there. So if you're not spending very much on R&D, it's not entirely surprising that actually the way we're doing things hasn't changed. That was the first bit. I've not given any solutions there, have I? The second bit is about the quality of our homes. And I do, apologies at this stage, I do start to go into the death and the literal death bit, which is quite early in my talk. But I'll try and come back out of it again. The chart here is from some analysis that was done. I think it correlated data from the English Housing Survey and the English Health Survey, and showed quite a clear correlation between good or bad health and living in good or bad housing. A few stats, sorry, I'm just going to find them here. I think it was the BRE did some analysis of the 2011 English Housing Survey, and they calculated, or they estimated, there were 3.5 million Category 1 HHSRS hazards, and that's health and housing. Oh, I can never get it right. I'm looking at Christian for help in case he knows. Health and Housing Health and Safety Rating System. I can never quite. No one in housing even knows what it stands for. But basically, it's the categorisation of various factors that will tell you if a house does or doesn't meet decent home standard. So 3.5 million hazards in homes. The cost to put in those right nationally is £10 billion. So I guess my question to you is, £10 billion a lot of money? Who thinks it's a lot of money? Oh, got a few shakes in the head. A lot of money? Who thinks it's not a lot of money? I'll go to the pub with you later. All of you. Very generous. My contention would be that it's not a lot of money. The annual savings to the NHS for fixing those are 1.4 billion. So the payback for that investment is only 7 years, which I've made a note here to say is slightly longer than the length of one parliament. Just a casual observation. Starkly, this is a slide I used last time. I should have said up front, apologies to people who were at the last Smartline conference back in January. I have used 3 slides that I used then. Bonus points for anyone who spots the other 2 as they come through. This is literally a matter of life and death, and this is why I said that modernise or die is mainly figurative, but also depressingly literal as well. So this was the most up-to-date information at the time, and it showed that, on average, nearly 10,000 people die every year because they live in a house that is too cold. It's either not adequately heated or not adequately insulated, or both. And I'm afraid it's getting worse. This is an update on those figures, picking up the 2017-18 figures. So you'll see that the latest 5-year average is up to 11,500. So it's getting worse. We've got 11,500 people dying every year because they live in a house that's too cold. It's not entirely surprising. This chart shows the average SAP ratings in homes. I'm sure most of you will know that SAP is a measure of energy efficiency, and you'll see that despite going up quite steadily for a number of years over the last, when's this data was from 2017, so I guess going back to 2013, it hasn't really shifted significantly, so we're not spending very much money on it. It's either because we've taken all the low-hanging fruit, or all the landlords or individuals that are going to do something have done it, or because we just don't have a decent national strategy to try and tackle some of these things. It's not just about death, though, and actually, for my money, the next slide is even more shocking. I'll give you a heads up. You're all scientists, or most of you are scientists anyway, so a complicated graph is going to be okay here. This is the second of 3 slides that I used last time. What this graph is showing is for every neighbourhood in the country, what people's average life expectancy or healthy life expectancy is. So starting from the left-hand side, you've got the most deprived. Over to the right, you've got the least deprived, so poorest to richest, bluntly. And then the top set of blobs are life expectancy, and the bottom set of blobs are healthy life expectancy. So if you look at the 2 yellow lines, they show the difference in life expectancy for people living from the poorest to the most prosperous of neighbourhoods. And there's a gap in life expectancy there of about 10 years, there or thereabouts. If you look at the bottom set, you'll see the gap in healthy life expectancy is closer to 20. And if you're over the age of 50 and you live in one of the 10% of the most deprived neighbourhoods in the country, the likelihood is you've reached the end of your healthy life expectancy. Anyone in the room here, 50 or above, or approaching that? Okay. It's a bit stark, isn't it? And frankly, it's a choice that the country has made, because the drivers behind that are, in the main, things that we can influence through public policy. I think only about 5% of it is genetic. I'm now going to attempt to segue from death and disability into customer service. Yeah? Okay. I'm seeing you really feeling that. It reminds me, I did see, thank you, I did see a Dogbert cartoon once, that, or Dilbert cartoon, that posed a problem of our product is killing customers, and it ultimately ends up with the solution of sell it as a decline in unsatisfied customers. So that's how I'm going to segue between the two. But what we've got in housing is a need to offer different services. People are working more. Increasingly, you're seeing both parents work, so people have less free time, and certainly the types of free time and the time of the day that they have that free time is changing. Universal credit is becoming more universal because we've decided it's a great policy idea to take what is a reasonably efficient system and make it more complicated. This chart shows the increase in uptake in universal credit. Any project managers in the house? Couple? You will love this then, I guess, that what you've got, the different coloured charts are the government's estimates for how quickly universal credit is going to roll out. So you'll see the project managers keep pushing it back and back. We're faced then with what we call in housing as the graph of doom. This is actually, I guess, the graph of positivity because it shows how you manage it. What we have to do is try and take our customers who can and want to do things online and make it possible for them to do things online. Because if we do that and they can self-serve, then we can take the time and energy and resource to help the people that can't do it themselves and that need our help and support. So it's not like that we're trying to get rid of customers who can't go online or that we're trying to drive up profit margins. We're just trying to make sure we can keep doing what we want to do as a charity. The last of the four things I want to talk about, and you'll like how I put smart in capital letters here. Yeah, is that good? Good branding. This is the last of the three charts I used last time. So this is when we were talking sort of hypothetically about the sorts of benefits that Smartline or things like Smartline could bring to us as a business. So this is talking about an example where the boiler tells us that it's going to go wrong, either when it's gone wrong or even before it's gone wrong, and it automatically sends a message through to us, and we can schedule in a repair to get someone to go around and fix things. At the time, it was only hypothetical, but we do actually have a real example now, which is quite exciting, and links back to the slide that Tim showed earlier, the work that Dr. Tam Munir is doing around damp and humidity. You won't be able to see the detail on the axes here, but up the left-hand side is humidity, and along the bottom is time. And what we've got is a home where the relative humidity was very high. It was between 75 and 90%, and there was mould in the property. So where the green line is where we installed what's called a positive pressure unit, which is designed to very slightly increase the pressure in the home so it pushes air out and brings the humidity down. So we put that in, sat back and thought, brilliant, that'll solve the problem. That graph doesn't show progress over 24 hours, it shows progress over about a month. So for about 4 weeks, we sat back and thought, well, oh, that didn't work. What's going on here? And then all of a sudden, about 4 weeks later, we started to see something change. Now, I'll be honest, we don't know yet. That's one example. Is it that something else changed that meant the humidity dropped then? Or is it that actually that's how long it takes for a PP unit to really start to make a change? Were there other changes in the household? These are all questions, but it shows you the sort of information we can now get from it, so we can try and track what is and isn't working. So, has anything changed? I think yes. This is a few snippets from the rules of the Penzance almshouses. I shouldn't get too close to that, should I? The rules of the Penzance almshouses. We own and manage the Garlidna almshouse in Penzance, and these are some of the snippets from the rules. If you can't read it, you will love the way that it talks about inmates who are there at the pleasure of the trustees. Hopefully not for the pleasure of the trustees, but it's hard to tell. And lights out at 10 p.m. every night, and also things like not being allowed to seek work or employment or anything like that, which I guess there were reasons for some of these things, but I think some things have very positively changed, albeit that I think it's also very fair to say that living in a home that's owned by a council or by a housing association still carries a fair degree of stigma out there in society, which we would love to see change. So some things have changed. Anyone brave enough to guess what's going to happen next? You're probably going to ask me, and I won't know the answers because I'm only a chief executive. Any Blade Runner fans? Did you know that Blade Runner was set in November 2019? Yeah? Okay. So we are now in the world of Blade Runner, except it doesn't quite look like that, does it? Which is why I put up that we were promised jetpacks. It's actually a Scottish indie band, but there you go. Predicting the future is a mugs game. There's Professor Tetlock did research over a number of years that showed that experts are only slightly better than 50% at predicting the future. And the only correlation in trying to determine whether they were good or bad at predicting the future was how certain they were. And the ones that were less certain were more likely to be right than the ones that were more certain. So I'm certain that I don't know. And because I used to be a scientist, I'm going to end on the words of a scientist, Niels Bohr. Prediction is very difficult, especially about the future.